Welcome to the TALKESHI podcast, episode 85, and yes, I have no makeup on. Just kidding, this isn't the first time I have appeared on here with no makeup, right? And I'm also dressed up, like, very normal. Like, I was just like, I want to wear a t-shirt, but I don't know what to wear for shorts, and I'm not going anywhere. Like, that's really what I look like today. And the reason I have no makeup on is, I guess, it's gonna tie into the story, like I'm telling a story, but it's gonna tie into the episode's theme. Also, did I say what episode this was? Episode 85. 87? We're jumping. I hope you guys are okay. Yes, I'm coming out with more consistent episodes, which I'm very excited about. But today's episode, however, is a pretty, I would say, a serious one, but it's more just like, it's a lot. We might have a big episode on our, like a long episode on our hands. But also to address, I have been on here without makeup before, which shows that I've been consistent with my values. But today we're gonna talk about women. You know, like the Saoirse Ronan, is that her name? I forgot her name. Lady Bird. You know, her scene where she's like, women, and that's like a whole sound on TikTok or whatever. But yeah, today we're going to talk about women. However, we're not going to be like, this isn't, how do I explain this? Because I've been practicing this episode because it is a lot that I want to touch on, and I also really don't want my words to get misconstrued or for people to think that I'm a hater, which I will sound like across this whole episode. I will sound like a hater, and I'm so sorry. However, I do believe, listen, I feel like as women, we do have things that we can be better about, especially white women and women who are still, like, to a certain degree, internally misogynistic. Just because you're a woman and just because you like womanly things doesn't mean that you're not kind of like under the influence of the system in a way. And that's kind of what I want to address with this episode. I'm going to be talking about, I don't know, I actually have like 2 posts that kind of explain what I want to get into this episode. But I will say that the topics pretty much are white feminism, even though I don't touch on that too much, but I do want to address it and bring it as like this big thing that is like out there. Choice feminism and beauty standards really is kind of like the topic for today. So I'm going to read 2 Tumblr posts that really kind of hit home for me when I do this episode and kind of like really inspired the episode. Criticizing buying 100 Stanley Cups is misogynistic. Criticizing Taylor Swift is misogynistic. Margot Robbie not getting nominated for an Oscar is misogynistic. Saying you don't like pink is misogynistic. Not wanting to wear makeup is internalized misogyny. Not liking rom-coms or romance novels is internalized misogyny. Thinking self-infantilization on the basis of it being an inherent trait of your gender is bad is internalized misogyny. These are the most pressing manifestations of misogyny. Can we spare a thought for any woman not in line at Starbucks? The second post, and I think I like this post a little more, or at least it's I literally described it here as should have been the Barbie monologue. But at the same time, I feel like this is the Barbie monologue. Like, you know how the Barbie monologue was like basis level feminism, which I actually don't mind. Like a lot of people, you know, I feel like especially on the internet, I've seen a lot of memes. And I used to get pissed at that because I'm like, oh, I'm so chronically online. I've already seen all the memes. But like, I then sit down and I'm like, you know, there's people that haven't seen this. So I'm going to share this because it's funny. And same with the Barbie monologue. A lot of girls especially don't know or hadn't resonated with anything that would tell them what the Barbie monologue told them. So I'm never going to be against the Barbie monologue. Was it Oscar worthy? I don't think so. I mean, I love America Ferrera, don't get me wrong. But, you know, the monologue itself is but I also am not against it, like, being present in movies, especially in Barbie, because it's like, it is the messaging is true. And it has its flaws, but doesn't matter. This, however, is like the Barbie monologue leveled up. It's like on a whole other, I don't want to say a whole other level of feminism, but I would say if Barbie was Feminism 101, this is like the advanced class. I went to college, guys. Can you believe that? Because I can't. Okay, here goes. Can't criticize plastic surgery as an institution because it's none of your business if a woman wants to fix her insecurities. Can't criticize the makeup industry or beauty standards because some women feel good when they shave and wear makeup. Can't bring up the challenges women face in the workplace because some women want to stay at home and be wise instead of working. Everything a woman does is automatically feminist, and we shouldn't stop to think about the context surrounding her actions because that would be misogynistic. Here's what I had for girl dinner. According to my girl math, the Barbie movie was a revolutionary piece of feminist media. I may not show it, but I feel the life slowly draining from me day by day. And feminism and my thoughts on women and misogyny aside, that last line did hit home for me because I also feel that way recently. I've been having a very anti-capitalistic, anti-consumerism crisis recently, and it's hitting pretty hard. Let's talk a little bit about white feminism. And if I have to define it for you, it is the type of feminism that celebrates women, but only the experiences of white women, and does not recognize, like, I'm just going off a limb here based off what I know. This is an oral exam right now. But white feminism does not address or acknowledge, like, the experiences of women who are not white, who are not cis, who are not middle or upper class, who are not able-bodied or cis straight, like, it really is that kind of feminism that's just like, we're all sisters, we're all here together. No, we are not. No, we are not. The experiences of, say, a black woman are extremely different to a white woman's experiences when it comes to feminism, and I think that's something that we shouldn't even care about what mainstream media wants, but it's like this whole thing about, like, we're all sisters, we're all here together. It's like, I feel like you have to really sit down and acknowledge your privilege, which I try to do as much as I can, and really acknowledge the fact that Black women have to withstand racism and misogyny at the same time, and that in itself is a whole thing. It's a term. There's a term for it, misogynoir. And not only that, but also I feel like white feminism does not address, let's say, the struggles of lower class women and the struggles of a gay woman or queer woman, let's say. It also doesn't address, like, ableism. White women are really just so focused on themselves and just womanhood that it doesn't really, it's literally what, when I think of white feminism, I think of Hillary Clinton, which is like, let's get a woman elected, but it's like, yeah, on the basis of what? Or like, that meme or that piece of artwork that's like, oh, these are going to be the first bombs dropped by a woman, and like the people on the receiving end of those bombs are like, it's so good to be a part of history. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like identity politics in general is a whole other thing. But I think white feminism really is something that I struggle a lot with when I read about things. And like anyone that criticizes Rosalia, oh my God, they're all like, oh, you're just misogynistic. It's like, no, we're criticizing her because she's a little bit of a culture vulture. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. I do want to say that, like, with the whole Amy Schumer thing, for example, she was talking about how people were attacking her for the way she looked. And let's not act like that doesn't matter, because we're obviously going to get into beauty standards and stuff like that soon. But she was like, oh, people are criticizing me for the way I look, whatever. Well, sure, but you're also ignoring in large part the Zionism that you're bringing to the table recently on your social media. Amy Schumer has also been a very big racist in her past. So I do hate when white women, and I'll include myself there because, like, I think you have to, and as I'll get into the topic of acknowledging not only your privilege, but also the part that you play and your bias in all this. Like, kind of using the woman card, it's insane. I really think it's so subpar, to say the least, to like want to address something or want to like kind of get into like a defensive mode about it, kind of be like, you're only attacking me because I'm a woman. And it's like, there's oftentimes pretty legit reasons to criticize you, and you're pulling out the woman card, and I think it invalidates just the plight of women in general, when we have so much more to talk about. Like, how are you pulling the woman card when there are women in Gaza who, like, as this tweet said, don't pull the feminist guilt-tripping card when you're supporting a genocide that deprived women of sanitary products, women in labor and pregnant being murdered, barbarically tortured. You are no feminist, just white and privileged that cries when being held accountable. This happens so much, and I think, as we're moving down the line of my notes, I want to say that this also happens with stans. Like, this happens a lot with Standom. I think right now, or at least like last year actually, the biggest 3 moments in culture were Barbie, Taylor Swift, and Beyoncé. And obviously the stans are always going to go crazy and defend their fave. Let me just make this point, like, let me just make a spoiler alert here, right? You can listen to Taylor Swift. I'm not a Swiftie. I like some of her songs. I grew up with a lot of her music. I don't consider myself a Swiftie though. And I do have criticisms on her and, white feminism and, hey, it's not okay that she, her and the Jets and the eco-fascism. Not okay. But it doesn't mean that I can't listen to her music or that I'm a bad person for doing that. Like, I have friends that are Swifties and that are also talking about the genocide in Palestine. Like, it's not, you don't have to divide these things. You can talk about both things, right? But people often take it as like you're criticizing her or you're hating her because she's a woman. Like, look at all these things that she's gone through. Like, I haven't talked my shit in a minute, and I like, I would love to sit down and talk about, not Taylor Swift herself, because that's kind of the thing. I don't know what goes on in her mind, but some of the things that she does aren't okay. Just like Beyoncé as well. If you want to throw that at me, I will criticize billionaires all I want, because you can also do the same with Beyoncé. And granted, Beyoncé has a lot of stuff thrown at her. Misogynoir there is very rampant, like, especially when you hear the overrated criticism, because honestly, the way I see it is that you're like hating on a black woman that has worked so hard to get to where she is. She is very clearly one of the best performers ever. And I genuinely feel like that criticism is thrown at her. It's kind of like a you can't win situation, where it's like, if she wasn't working as hard, then no one would care. But like, since she's working so hard and has impacted the industry so heavily, then who cares, right? Like, oh my God, you guys care so much about that. And it's like, she can't really win. However, is it okay that the Renaissance film was played in Israel? I think not, especially when she's been vocal about that before. So I feel like you can criticize these women, and it doesn't have to be because like they're women, especially because they're not working class women who are a demographic that I care more about than I could ever care about white women or privileged women or like, billionaires. Now I have a little question here for y'all. Is your feminism, I support women's rights, but I also support women's wrongs? Or I don't support all women, some of you bitches are really dumb? Or however that tweet goes, which I love. Because I feel like I support women's rights, but I also support women's wrongs is like, you guys remember Multiverse of Madness? I feel like that phrase really went viral trying to defend Wanda, who I'm not going to get into how her character's, she's probably a villain that's justified and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that. Even though I do believe that there was a lot of sexism. There's always going to be a lot of sexism when it comes to like a female character. Is this the first time that I've ever done an episode facing frontward? Maybe, because I'm always like lying down. So this might be really good for my back. But anyway, I feel like that kind of feminism is very rampant. As I was saying at the beginning, like, it's just like all for the sake of like, oh, but she's a woman though. Like, we should defend her, and we should, like, you shouldn't be attacking her just because she's a woman. And it's like, that's not my kind of feminism. My feminism is definitely, I don't support all women. Some of you bitches are dumb. Like, there are things that a lot of women do, especially women with these privileges, that I'm not okay with, that I don't agree with. Also, if you're looking, this isn't a tattoo. This is one of those like fake tattoos gone wrong, really. I did do some cute designs on this arm because obviously it's the hand that I can draw on. But yeah, shout out to forgot the company, the one that with the mark, Inkbox. Sponsor me, Inkbox, and I'll say even nicer things about you. You can already hear my voice going hoarse, and we're not even like wrapping up what I would call Act 1 of this episode. But here we go. Something else that I wanted to address is like, genuinely, I'm so sorry guys, but I hate girl dinner, girl math, and I'm just a girl. I don't know what it is about. Listen, let me just clarify something. Like, this is an observation that I have about those silly joke to white feminism pipeline. Like, there was a comment on a YouTube video that I watched that was like, it described it perfectly. I do believe that like a lot of women are launched into maturity very early, right? I know a lot of these women. And, you know, as adults, so maybe we're just kind of looking for something that's just like a little cute, a little more like, you know, I think especially with I'm just a girl, it's kind of like, listen, I'm just a girl. Like, I've been forced to like cook and clean ever since I was like a little kid, and I wasn't allowed like a fucking childhood. So I'm just a girl. I don't know these things. You know, I definitely get, you know, trying to say like, trying to just justify yourself pretty much. Just be like, listen, I can't do all this stuff. I'm just a girl. I'm you know, without having to infantilize yourself though, because it's just so annoying to me. It's a little annoying to me. I'm so sorry. And like girl dinner, where did that come from? Girl dinner and then girl math? Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I don't know if it's because I've been infantilized all my life that I want to like grow up. And I'm like, no, woman dinner. But what is all that? I just find it so annoying, and I do feel like it's part of like that consumerist, like, I don't know. Didn't Popeyes come out with girl dinner? What the hell is that? You know, and I think to wrap up this first part, something that I noticed this is just like a medley of topics, really. This isn't even anything super, this isn't an essay. This is by no means an essay, because this is just like a ton of thoughts thrown together. But you know, I have been having a little bit of a crisis with consumerism and capitalism and all that stuff. And there was a fact that came out recently that said that most things are bought by women, like at least online and stuff like that. Most e-commerce and stuff like that is done by women. And you know what? My first thought was actually like, well, of course, like a lot of women probably buy, you know, if they're mothers, they probably buy their diapers online. They probably buy a lot of things for their children online and stuff like that. There is also the aspect of, I think we're very much more prone to just like buying things on TikTok and buying like from TikTok. Like we see things on TikTok and we're like, we have to buy it. We have to have it now. I think we're more prone to that. And I would like us to really evaluate that for a plethora of reasons. But like, I do feel like that's not something to be proud of. Like, participating in capitalism enthusiastically is not something that I would be proud of as a woman. And that's just something that I think about a lot. And, you know, to wrap that part up, I just think that there are more pressing issues in the world pertaining to women, much like that tweet about Amy Schumer said, that I feel like we should focus more on that than just like because I do believe that the topics I'm going to cover now, like choice feminism and makeup and beauty standards and stuff like that, they are important. I'm talking about what's happening in my society right now, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. However, there are more pressing issues. If you consider yourself a feminist, I think there are more issues about the women that don't look like you specifically that we should care about. And that's really what I wanted to say with that. Let's start Act 2, shall we? Choice feminism. Now, I'm kind of scared to discuss this topic a little bit, and I've read a lot about it. Enough to form an opinion that I think is very singular. It's something that a lot of people might not like. I think we get really defensive, me included. We get really defensive when we get told that our ideas are not ours, that our choices are not ours, that we can do whatever we want, and then like when we get told that we can't, or that there is a deeper, darker, not the best reason as to why you do it, I think we tend to get defensive. And I really this is all like an opinion. This is not me telling you what to do with yourself. This is very much not that. That's just a disclaimer going forward. I am very well aware that I sound like a hater or like, I don't know, but just to clarify that like you can do whatever you want. Nothing I tell you really matters at the end of the day, right? So, yeah, I'm going to play a snippet from a podcast from last year that I can't believe I still stand by, actually, and very much agree with. So here goes. I did it for myself, like I got the surgery for myself. I lost the weight for myself. Wait, no tanto, because that can become a medical issue at some point. But like doing that kind of stuff for yourself, I don't know if I believe it because I wrote this down. I'm a quote myself. I'm a quote Pasquera. No, as in like I did it for myself. No, you did it so you can be at peace with the opinion of other people. You did it because people were telling you you had no tits, so you got your tits done. You did it because people were telling you that you had a big nose or making you feel bad about your big nose, so you got a rhinoplasty. I think when you don't make those changes to your body, there is a lot of power in that. Now, I do want to say that I want to make a little bit of not a correction, just like but I can't believe that I still heavily agree with this. I do want to say that when I say, because people were telling you, I guess what I actually meant was society. And like, we've had so many notions of what a woman is supposed to look like and how she's supposed to act and be and present in the society, that those things are so ingrained in us ever since we're little that I do feel like, those are the things that are influencing us to make the choices that we make. However, as in choice feminism, which I'll define in a bit, I wrote down in my notes, like, we are not free just because we are taught to like it. We are not free, and it's not like our choices actually to make just because we want to do it and because that's our choice to do it. It doesn't mean that we are free. Like, there's a post here that says the phrase, women's choices are not made in a vacuum, and that is completely true. We are so intensely, like, I don't want to say forced, but the ideas of what a woman is supposed to look like is so put in our head since we're little that I think when we finally get probably the financial freedom, or just we feel like we're in a point where we can do it, I think that because of that, we feel like we're free. We feel like we have a choice. I feel like it's like when people say everything is political. It's very much true. Every decision that you make is political. It doesn't matter. I don't care. And I can be very lenient to people kind of, not being aware of that. But they are. Choice feminism, as I have read it, I feel like I've defined 3 things now without Wikipedia, so that's kind of cool. Choice feminism is when you think that the choices that you make, as I was explaining, the choices that you make as a woman, getting surgery, doing makeup, dressing in a certain way, doing your hair in a certain way, just presenting, the way that you present, but also the choices that you make in your life. like whether or not to have a child, whether or not to get married, those things. You think that you make them in a vacuum. I think those last two we can leave them out a little bit, but I also do think that they have to do. But we're focusing on beauty standards, right? You think that you are making those decisions and you're doing those things because you have like this freedom, this free reign, this like libre albedrío, when really everything that you do is because of something. And we're going to get into it in a way that's, I'll be explaining a few things here and there about that. I guess specifically I talk about, as I talked about in the clip, surgery, because it is such a thing right now. I don't want to make people feel judged by their decisions to get that. Something that I wrote down here, which is like a realization with doing this whole episode and talking about this topic, is that if you're gonna do it, admit, or at least like accept that it is because of that. It is because of society. It is because of how you want to present to the world. I feel like we have no control over that. It's kind of like, I don't know what to compare it with, because I want to say that like fashion is a way of expressing yourself. And I think, if you dress a certain way, you are expressing a certain thing about yourself. Kind of like right now and I'm expressing that right now, I really don't care about how I look como tal. I kind of am expressing, however, that I don't care how I look right now, right? But I kind of do care, because I want you guys to not focus on that, but focus more on the words that I'm saying. And therefore, that is a statement in itself. It's kind of crazy. Is this like philosophy? Is this what philosophy is? I don't know. But with that realization that I made, right, that I wrote down here, I think there is kind of like this thing that you have to like admit, to yourself, that I feel like people don't want to come to terms with sometimes. Like, for example, I always wanted to get plastic surgery on my butt. I always wanted to be thick. I grew up with like that massive insecurity of not being like the girls in my grade or girls and women around me that had big butts. And now I'm a grown adult. I consider that I'm pretty secure in myself, secure enough to present my makeupless face on here. And I would say that I'm secure enough, even more, I'll take it up a notch, to go to like a high-end event without makeup. I think I've gotten pretty secure in myself over the past few years about my physical, like not so much about my personality and what actually matters. But I think physically, because I am actually pretty vain as well, I will say, which, I think I can be, because I'm conventionally attractive. It's a whole discussion I'll probably get into later. But, and now I think as an adult, I don't want that, or I'm not inclined to do that, even if I had the means to, because this is much more easier said than done, but I have loved myself enough, or really harvested a love for myself and my natural body and the way that I am, really, to the point that I don't care what other people say about me, or my body specifically. I think I really appreciate my body and how it is and how it functions, and like all these pretty positive things about my body. No one else has this body. And I think this episode isn't about body positivity, but I want to say that I think if everyone else felt this way about our body, like their bodies, they wouldn't feel the need to participate, because at the end of the day, plastic surgery isn't feminist. There's like a whole ton of YouTube videos talking about, is it feminist? And spoiler alert, it's not. It's actually part of like literally capitalism. I know I sound like this little ghoul in like a basement just being like, it's all capitalism, but it is true. Like, society benefits off of our insecurities, or not society, well, society too, but capitalism does benefit from that. Here's this to make you eradicate that insecurity that you have. It's kind of like the post that I said, like, you can't criticize plastic surgery because like people will be like, don't blame a woman for wanting to fix her insecurities. There's a reason those insecurities exist. And I feel like you giving into that is kind of giving into the machine. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. I feel like we're all so afraid to just, I feel like I could sit here and be like, it's your body, your choice. You could do that. Your body, your choice has to do with abortion. It doesn't have to do with like fucking like plastic surgery. Something that has happened to me before is, and I think this is where me being very okay with myself comes to play. Like, I have had friends and people around me that have been like, oh, I need to get a surgery of this. I need to do this. I need to get this. I need to, And I have been honest with them because, first of all, if you are looking at your friends or people around you and you're like, they need to get something done. They need to work on that. That's weird. That's weird. I don't know if it's just because I feel like no one believes me, but I don't care. Beauty is subjective. To me, anyone and everything and everyone can be beautiful. Because it doesn't matter. Maybe I just don't care about that. Even though it's funny because I was just saying that I'm vain as hell. And I am. I love beauty. Every time I see a beautiful girl, I'm like staring at her. I'm like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. But I don't want to be like her because I know that my version of beautiful is like, I know I'm beautiful and I'm beautiful for myself. I don't really care. But I've had people in my life tell me like, oh, I need to get this done. And I'm like, you don't. I think you're beautiful just the way you are. You're fine. Like trying to, not in a cringy way, but kind of like trying to make them feel good about themselves, right? When it's been around, the other way around, when I've been insecure, I have had people, like, I've been like, oh, yo soy tan chumba. And they've been like, well, honey, let's go to the gym. Let's like get this. Shut up. Like, I think that just says so much about like how secure I am, at least now, because that used to be before. But I'm so glad that I am secure enough to tell people the truth, that they don't need that surgery, that they don't need to fix their insecurities, that they should work on them and love themselves completely because of it. And I don't think that, like, sue me. ¿Qué va a hacer? ¿Qué va a decir? What's the response here? That you shouldn't love yourself? Yeah, would love to hear it, And, just to close off that part and get into the makeup and my hypocrisy with my makeup, I will say that it's, often these people that want to get those surgeries are just because of the insecurity and not because of, like, you can see people with normal ass, I'll just use this one, with normal ass breast, getting, like, breast augmentation surgeries just to fit in. Just admit that it's to fit in. Just admit that it's to fit in because, like, having big tits is not part of your personality. And you can come girl bossify, girl dinner, girl mathify here and be like, no, it's because women have the right to shut up. There's a reason for that. And, like, the earlier and the sooner we accept it, the better I think we'll be. And the more you'll overcome it. And granted, I'm conventionally attractive. I don't think I have, other than my ass, I don't, or like a lot of other things. I feel like I'm equally as I think I'm more conventional than I am. This isn't me praising myself, okay? This isn't me being like I'm the most gorgeous person ever. But I would say that I have a lot of things that fit into society naturally. Which, speaking of looking natural and having looks be something very, effortless that come to you, let's talk about makeup for a second. Because let me talk about the fact that I don't have makeup on. Listen, I think a lot of people, and I think I want to get into this tweet right here. So listen, I have no makeup on today because I kind of want to make a point. There was a TikTok that went viral on Twitter, which honestly, I want to give sympathy to the OP because sometimes when that happens, they don't have control over the narrative on a platform that they're not on or that they didn't consent for their content to go on. But I think that this had a lot of points to be made. So this TikTok was of this girl putting on makeup and she says, I will never understand girls who flex about not wearing makeup. Wearing makeup is the best part of being a girl. First of all, she's wrong. The best part of being a girl is whatever you want it to be, really. Like, who determines? What is a woman? Matte washed. More like matte washed. I'm so sorry for that. No, but if you didn't get that reference, I'm so sorry, but also you're blessed. No, but this is very reductive. This is just very simplistic, like girly, like this is that infantilization that I was talking about. But anyway, a point that someone made here that was very interesting was, remember when pick me used to mean women who put down other women for male validation, and now any woman who doesn't wear makeup is called a pick me. And that is so annoying because honestly, let's talk about the TikTok in itself. I think OP is talking about maybe a woman or a girl that came up to her and was like, I could never wear that much makeup. I think we've all seen those kinds of like TikToks and, reels and content in general. That's just like the woman that comes up to you that doesn't wear a lot of makeup and it's like, I could never wear that much makeup. And like OP is usually like, I know, Karen, you only wear like chapstick and mascara and you don't care about how you look. Like, it's very clear. I think we all know the type of content that I'm talking about. I mean, first of all, what the TikTok is addressing is kind of like how people criticize makeup because it's something that girls do, making it be like this misogynist thing or a misogynist criticism, when really how I see it is like, we're not supposed to care about what we look like. I think in this society, we want beauty. We want women to present a certain way. We don't want them to care about how that is. I think in this society, we want makeup to be this thing that's like, oh, I just put it on and I just look like this. I'm just like naturally, effortlessly beautiful. Like I don't put in all the work like you do with all that makeup and all that stuff. Like, the thing about this is that we're not supposed to care about how we look, unfortunately. Makeup has been a thing, has been a tool. Like, let's not deny this. Makeup has been something that women have used to look presentable. Like, makeup has been something that for women, it's been like a method of like, you have to look this way and you have to use makeup because if you don't, then you're a slob. Let's not forget that. However, I love how now this generation has turned makeup into something fun. Let's sit down and do these crazy looks and let's move past male validation. There's definitely a makeup style that is to look hot, and there's a makeup style that is just for fun. All these colors, this art. It's art. It can be art. It can be fashion. It can be something that's away from male validation and centering men. But as this other tweet says, in response to the TikTok, the utter denial in the quote retweets is crazy. Y'all wear makeup because you feel it makes you look better and because that's what society expects of you. Now, mind you, the makeup that this lady is doing is like, it's hot girl makeup. It's hot girl makeup. It's regular makeup to make yourself look better in society. Or, it's like lipstick and eyes and blush and all that stuff, which I typically do. I'll get into that in a second. It's not makeup that's like, I would say goth makeup is not like hot girl makeup. It's like art. It's different than that kind of makeup. It's not even that colorful. It's not like you're just looking hot. You're just looking regular hot. You're not like doing crazy stuff to your face, which I think it says something when men tell you, because I've been told like, I think you look better natural, or I like your natural face more. It's because the makeup isn't supposed to be for your enjoyment. It's definitely supposed to be, it's not supposed to be because you care about how you look. It's supposed to be natural. And there's no like autonomy when it comes to this kind of makeup sometimes. It's really just to look hot. Keeping on with the tweet. Women's decisions regarding aesthetic cannot be made in a vacuum. Wearing makeup is not what it means to be a girl either. I completely agree with this tweet. I completely agree. Listen, let's talk about me and makeup. I'm not wearing any makeup today. I kind of love it though because I honestly hate foundation. I've been using less foundation and just using like a little cream, which is why I've been trying to take care of my skin, even though I'm having this huge breakout here, which is annoying. But listen, I wear makeup, and I will admit, the makeup I wear, the type of makeup I wear, is to look hot. I know how I look when I look like this, which I woke up like this, okay? Shout out to Beyoncé. Type of makeup I do is to look hot. Or at least it's like to give an idea of, I look hot, I know that men look at me different when I look like this versus when I look like how I look on my makeup page. I know the difference. I know there's a difference. Like, we cannot deny it. Now, do I love sitting down and doing my makeup and just feeling myself and kind of appreciating that I look hot? Yes. I'm not going to deny that. And I can admit both things. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make with this episode. You can like something or appreciate something or whatever that is not feminist, or that is like, you know, you can get the surgery, you can do the makeup, you can do all that stuff and admit that it's like, you know, there's something messed up with it, with the origins of it. You can admit that to yourself. And at the same time, acknowledge it. You know, you can appreciate it and acknowledge the norm in itself. Something I didn't talk about in this episode is centering men. I am going to say something controversial here and say that feminism has kind of turned into light men hating. And listen, I am not here to defend men. I could not care about them at all. I could not care about their mental health either, which has been like a whole campaign recently. I don't care. However, the only feminism that comes from people's mouths sometimes is just like, oh, I hate men. And like, oh, men are this, whatever. And I feel like that does come from centering men, because feminism is so much more beyond men. It is definitely like, I feel like this type of feminism is like centering men to the point of like good or bad. You center men, especially romantically. I feel like there's a lot of people that only attack men when it comes to romance. Like, oh, like, I hate men. This man ghosted me. And that person's feminism doesn't really care about the patriarchy como tal that led to that man ghosting you and having emotional irresponsibility. Honestly, I feel like this type of feminism focuses more on like begging men to be better and not us attack the patriarchy of which they benefit, which transcends interpersonal relationships. Finally got to the end. I'm so sorry it was this long, but wow. Is this the longest episode? It might be, bro. My point with this whole episode is that you can do things that are not feminist and be a feminist. I think there is a norm. And the last note I have here is that the norm expects you to fit in, but you are not an anti-feminist if you do. You are not an anti-feminist. I think, and I think we know this, like, you know, I think that a lot of us have to accept that we are accepted by the norm, whether that's by being white, able-bodied, cis, hetero, you know. It's not bad to be those things. Hell, I'll throw in there being conventionally attractive and wanting to be conventionally attractive, which was the whole point of like choice feminism and beauty standards that I was talking about. Wanting to fit in isn't a bad thing. But I think if you address the reasons that you want to fit in, if you address like, oh, I want to fit in because I'm insecure. I think we attack people that are insecure. And I'm not here to attack people that are insecure. I'm here to give an opinion on why you're insecure and how we can combat that. And if at the end you want to fit in, you want to put on more makeup to feel secure, you want to get the surgery, you want to dress a different way than what you already do, then fine. I can't fight you on that. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do with their lives at all. But I also think that if we involve critical thinking into our daily lives, then, you know, our daily lives might be better. And I also just think that, because, you know, I think a lot of people suffer from that big insecurity of not fitting in, and they don't really like think like, is there another way? Is there another way that I can feel better about myself that doesn't involve capitalism? And I think if we involve that mindset, then we'd probably be a little better. You know, maybe that's just my opinion. I am super tired. This is the longest episode I've ever done where there's not a guest on. So I'm exhausted. But if you listen to all of this, thank you so much. If you took anything from this, I will appreciate it. I will also appreciate, you know, like, I feel like I always say like, oh, comment and stuff like that because, you know, for engagement and also because it helps me out. But leave a review on Spotify if it's possible to you. I would really appreciate that. I was thinking about that this morning. But also, if you just took anything from it, this podcast is really just me being like, do you feel me? Just screaming that into the void. But I hope I'm not screaming into the void. I hope that someone gets something from this. I actually genuinely wonder, with every single thought that I put into this podcast, if someone agrees with me, if someone else feels the way that I do. So all these thoughts on feminism have been brought to you by my sense of like, am I okay? Is it okay that I think this? So honestly, if you disagree or anything like that, hey, I'm just here to share thoughts. I'm not here to impose them on anyone. So I would love to know your thoughts on these slightly controversial ideas that I had. So thank you so much for listening. If you did, I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be another episode in March, hopefully. Yes, manifesting. But yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you then. Bye, guys.